Well, you can't always get what you want, and the Warriors did not finish the preseason with an undefeated record. The great news is it's the preseason. The record means absolutely nothing. There were still a lot of positives to take from that game. That first quarter was pretty ugly. I got Larry Krueger joining me next. We're gonna break all of it down. It's a Friday Night Live edition of Locked On Warriors. Come join the party. Here we go.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is FanDuel. Again, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads. The platform's blowing up. Come join the party there at Dog Wild. It's super easy. Same handle for my Instagram account. The program is on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Hello, Kevs. Hello, Richard Sarpong. I agree, Nigel. The bench did play great. Rebel the Sounds, what is up? Hold on, I pressed the wrong one here. There we go. Larry Krueger is going to join me in just a moment. He's got something going on at the moment. He will be with us in just a second, and I cannot wait to get my friend in here in the mix. But again, as I mentioned a moment ago, the Golden State Warriors failed to finish out the preseason with a perfect 5-0 record. They fall to the San Antonio Spurs 122-117, a game that was relatively close throughout. But if it wasn't for a first quarter where the Warriors just could not play defense, they probably would have won this thing. They got outscored in the first quarter, 44-35. Dub Nation, you got your first taste of Victor Wembanyama. Dude, this kid, look, I think if you watch the game, I'm just going to be redundant saying a lot of the stuff here. 7'4", he's not Chet Holmgren skinny. Like, the dude has meat on his bones. He's got handles. He's got an outside shot. He can play defense. The only player in the Warriors who was able to shoot over him was Jonathan Kuminga. He hit that rainbow jump shot that went in. Otherwise, he was causing havoc across the board. And the Spurs are a damn big team, at least in terms of their starting lineup, because the Warriors got a taste of not only Victor Wembanyama, who in 20 minutes of play was 8 for 19 from the field. He put up 7 3-point attempts, made 2 of them, finished the game with 19 points, 7 rebounds, had 5 blocked shots in just 20 minutes. I think that's one of the easiest bets of the year is who's going to lead the league in blocks. It's going to be Victor Wembanyama. But his power forward alongside him is a player that, if you've been following the Warriors for a long time, you're familiar with him, and that's Zach Collins. And that dude is not small. He would be a center on almost any other rotation. Zach Collins, playing alongside Wembanyama, also played 20 minutes. He was 6 for 11 from the field. He finished with 13 points to go along with 3 rebounds. And dealing with that when the Warriors' counter was Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney, yeah, you're probably going to end up giving up 44 points in a first quarter when that's your front court. In hindsight, maybe Steve Kerr's thinking to himself, I should have probably gone with my new Twin Towers lineup. He suddenly feels very comfortable playing Dario Saric in the power forward position because he stretches the floor offensively. He's not a liability on that front. Steve Kerr loves space for his offense. I don't know if Kevon Looney is the perfect counterpart for that Twin Towers lineup, but that's probably what the Warriors should have brought in to start the game. Instead, Wiggins was playing defense on Wembanyama. I don't think he did a bad job, by the way. And yeah, Richard Sarpong, and this is good. I don't know if this is going to make a turn into a debate for the season or not, because yes, we will touch on Trayce Jackson-Davis, but I don't know if you can bench Kevon Looney for Trayce Jackson-Davis this soon. I get the sentiment. I understand that a lot of people are ecstatic about the idea of Trayce Jackson-Davis and what he's bringing to the table. I already love this kid. The future is incredibly bright for this kid. But regardless, the front and look, Draymond Green did not play either. So considering the Warriors only lost this game by 5, who knows what kind of difference Draymond would make. I'm really looking forward to seeing Draymond play an individual like a Victor Wembanyama. And here is Larry Krueger, host of the Krueg Show. They're not booing, folks. They're Kruging. What is that camera angle? What's going on there? How you doing, brother?
Oh no, I was in standard def. Now I'm in high def. All right.
Oh my God, look at you, all fancy with your high defs and your standard def. How are you doing, brother? Good to see you. Your immediate, and again, you can follow Larry Krueger on social media, more specifically Twitter at SportsLarryK. Your immediate reaction to this game, man? They're not undefeated, but I think it was still a very promising preseason for the Warriors. Your immediate reaction, sir? Great to see you, man.
Well, it's good to see you as well. I just love the way the Warriors are playing. I mean, this game aside, they lose to the Spurs, so this is their first loss in the preseason. But I love what I've seen from Golden State in the early going. I mean, they're a year older, but they're deeper.
Yes,
and Saric tonight was 17. Kuminga another double figure night. Moses, really what I'm seeing is Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga are clearly, improved dramatically from a year ago. And then you've added Saric and you've added Chris Paul. And those guys are veterans that make you smarter. Podziemski is ready to play. And so's Trayce Jackson-Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So you added 2 rookies that are ready to play. You got 2 young guys who weren't ready to play last year that are ready to play now. So, I mean, literally you've added 4 players that are all young and ascending players who are all ready to play this year. And that's hard to do. That's
real quick, do you really think Kuminga and Moody were not ready to play last year? Like you're
come playoff time. I mean, they played in the regular season, but they weren't developed enough to get Steve Kerr's confidence, to earn his confidence and earn minutes in the playoffs. I mean, you could argue that this year will be forced to play them. Last year he had some other options, but I just think that's pretty incredible when you think of. You can see the improvement and the confidence in Kuminga. You can see that Moses Moody is a lot more explosive mover than he was last year. He just looks so much faster and more explosive. So you got two young players who look like they're ready to play regular rotation minutes right now, and hopefully it continues into the playoffs, this spring. And then at the same time, you added 2 rookies, one with the 57th pick overall, that look like they're ready to play rotation minutes.
Yeah.
How many NBA rookies this year, honestly, in November are going to be ready to play rotation minutes? I would say just a handful. And the Warriors found a way to get 2 of them. Then you add Saric, who's a really nice player. He can play the pick and pop game. He can shoot the 3 ball. I mean, he missed those 2 free throws the other night, but Steph picked him up. I just think, there's a ton of basketball IQ that was added with Saric too. He really knows how to play.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, Saric knows how to play. Podziemski knows how to play. Trayce Jackson knows how to play. You just added those 3 guys, and then you add Moody and Kuminga, who are now looking like they've developed to the point where they're ready.
Right.
It also looks like GP2 is healthier than we've seen him in a long, long time. So right now, I mean, I just think, and then I haven't even mentioned guys like Rudy Gay and Usman Garuba and, Quinones, and they just have much, Corey Joseph, they have a much deeper team than they had last year.
Hell yeah, man. It's like night and day. It's absolutely night and day. It was interesting. The game started with some frivolity. You saw Stephen Curry handling the jump ball alongside Victor Wembanyama. I appreciate that he knows when to have some fun out there. It's a preseason game. You actually saw Greg Popovich laugh. There was actually a little chuckle coming out of him, which you rarely, if ever, see. One player that is starting to create some division within Dub Nation, and with each passing game, look, it's just the preseason, but Andrew Wiggins figured things out last game. You finally saw him, whether it was a conditioning issue or just him needing a few games to get his rhythm. Wiggins has figured it out. He looked good last game. He looked good tonight. His stat line real fast. It doesn't really reflect his performance. He played 18 minutes, had 5 points, 3 rebounds. He was tasked again with defending Victor Wembanyama. That was an odd matchup. But Klay Thompson, This is now all 5 preseason games where he hasn't wowed. He hasn't impressed. I thought he started tonight's game strong. He made a quick statement 3. He was aggressive. But then I feel like for the rest of the game, starting with the early second quarter, it was the same Klay we've been seeing all preseason, forcing shots, not taking the easy shot. Every shot he takes is difficult. Like there hasn't been a single shot he's taken this preseason, or it's very rare, where it's an easy basket, right? It's like he's trying to like force points, and that's never been his style. And yet again tonight, 9 points. He was a -11 in the plus minus. He was only 3 of 13 from the field. He was only 1 for 8 from beyond the arc. And then meanwhile, while Klay's struggling like this, and I feel like this could be a major concern come regular season, because Steve Kerr oftentimes will put his emotion over maybe what's most logical, right? He has a deep connection to this core of Steph, Klay, and Dre, and he loves Klay. As you know, in your interviews with Steve, he scoffs at the notion of Klay coming off the bench. But this is going to be a concern if Klay is taking minutes over players like Kuminga and Moody in the regular season if he continues to play like this. What is your thought on Klay Thompson's struggles? And do you think this is going to be a concern, or do you think it's just going to be washed away come the regular season? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, in this particular game, you could argue that Klay and Curry and Magruder shot him out of it from beyond the arc. I mean,
Yeah.
those 3 guys were 3 for 20 from 3.
You're right.
3 for 20. I mean, that's so bad.
That's bad. Yeah.
I mean, it's preseason. It's preseason. I got no problem with Klay hoisting crazily and just trying to find his comfort zone. I mean, that these games mean nothing. Getting him comfortable is a big part of their winning equation. But I don't want to see him just shoot them out of games this year. And there's some concern. It's funny though. You look back at his year last year. I did this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
You look at his year last year and his numbers last year, and then you look at his career numbers, pretty much right on line, almost across the board. So, maybe this suggestion, for now, the one thing that is absolutely no doubt is that he's not the defender that he was. He used to be a guy who could defend 1s and 2s, and now he's probably a guy who's going to defend more like 3s and 4s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an adjustment. He doesn't have that lateral agility, but that's all he's lost. The rest of his game, is pretty much intact. He does seem like there are times where he's like, trying to find it, and it's like nothing else matters in his mind other than him finding it. But maybe that's a preseason behavior that won't continue in the regular season. It was clear in this game he was just hunting shots and trying to get into a rhythm. Yeah,
all the preseason games.
He's been inefficient. There's no question about it. And
here's what I'm seeing, and this is what concerns me the most. I agree defensively, like he's no longer that wing defender he once was. When we come back, I want to get your reaction to this. Maybe you'll disagree, maybe you agree, but what concerns me the most is when I'm seeing Klay out there, he looks slow. Like the game looks faster than him. He's looking old, man. And this is what I'm seeing. I hope what my eyeballs are deceiving me. And maybe it's just the fact that he's not lighting it up right now. And I don't know. But what I'm seeing so far is a player who is not matching the energy level of the other 9 players on the court. But I feel like the game is faster than him. I guess to summarize what I'm saying here, he looks like he lost a step. And I hate to say, I hate to say that. Maybe you will completely disagree, and maybe Dub Nation will love hearing that. We'll find out your thoughts in just a moment, Larry. And we're going to talk about a whole lot more after I give some love to one of our official sponsors of the program, and that's the FanDuel Sportsbook. Larry, you've been covering the Niners extensively. Your coverage of the 49ers, in my humble opinion, is second to none. Folks, Larry Krueger was telling people before anyone else, months before anyone else, that Brock Purdy was the real deal. So I strongly, emphatically let everyone else know, if you want an insider, if you want an expert on the 49ers and other sports, but at this time of year right now, the Niners are the draw. You've been nailing it, dude. So I just want to give you credit for that. And while we have the FanDuel sponsor here, what are we looking at for the Niners Monday night? What are your thoughts if they're playing the Vikings, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are don't have Justin Jefferson. The Vikings struggle to run the football. I think the Niners are going to probably have a run-heavy scheme Monday night. The one thing about Monday night that's a little unknown at this point, because it is a Monday night game, the Niners practice schedule is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they practice tomorrow. Trent Williams has not practiced. Deebo Samuel has not practiced. Christian McCaffrey was on the field today, but just working on the side with the trainer. There's a chance that they don't have Deebo or Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams on Monday night. If they don't have Trent Williams, they're going up against the league's #1 sack man and Danielle Hunter with Jalen Moore. And that matchup alone could make this a very even football game because, Danielle Hunter shredded. He's in great shape. He's as I said, the league's leading sack guy. This is also the #1 blitz team in the NFL. So because they blitz a lot, they get a lot of one-on-one matchups for Danielle Hunter, and Danielle Hunter on Jalen Moore is a mismatch in the favor of the Vikings. So how much does that individual matchup burn the Niners? Can Trent go? I don't know. We're going to find out here probably in the next 24 hours the status of those three guys. Deebo and Ayuk, I don't think it's quite, or Deebo and CMC, I don't think it's quite the same urgency just because they have depth there. But it's imperative that Brandon Ayuk step up with a monster performance. He did not have a good performance last week in Cleveland.
And do you know what the line is, and who are you taking?
Well, I'd still take the 49ers. As far as the line, let me check it for you. But I would still take the 49ers. This is a
7. It's Niners -7, and they're in Minnesota. OU is 44.
Yeah, I would probably tease it down to, if I could, So I would probably tease, and I'd probably go with the primetime under.
All right.
So give you an example. It's Niners -7. If you tease it, you make it to a Niners on a pick 'em. You take the 44, you add 7 onto that. So now you have 51 and go under. So if I was betting it, I would say take the Niners on a teaser. So that would make it a pick 'em, and then under 51.5.
There you go. That is sound advice, ladies and gentlemen, from Larry Krueger himself. And to get more of those insights, just check out the Krueg Show on YouTube and FanDuel right now. You can tease. You can do all of that stuff when it comes to the gambling action with FanDuel. New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. You bet $5, you get $200 free from FanDuel. That's a hell of a deal. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Right now, the Locked On Ultimate NBA Season Preview is here. It's a 6-episode series. All 30 of the Locked On NBA team shows and the host participated in this, myself included, from contenders to tankers. We went in depth into the biggest storylines heading into the NBA season, which starts next week. Catch all 6 episodes on Locked On NBA, and it's also available now on our stream. You can follow Larry Krueger on Twitter at SportsLarryK, and please subscribe to the Krueg Show, which I believe are you at 25,000 subs, brother? Like, you started with 0, not even 2 years ago. What, a year and a half ago?
We're approaching 27,000 right
Jesus now. Christ, I can't even keep up with you. You're at 27. I apologize. You're killing it there. You're killing it everywhere. Right now, we're talking Warriors. Has Klay lost his step, Larry? That was a question I'm asking. I hope that's not true. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's pretty clear that when the Warriors play Draymond and Steph and Klay and Looney, one of the weaknesses they have is they're not particularly quick to loose balls or like missed threes that come ricocheting off the rim and are bouncing in the middle of the floor. So teams get, second opportunities, often against that lineup. The one thing about Klay is that, when he was in his prime, he could guard 1s and 2s. He was an awesome two-way player. He could just run for days. He was, this amazing three-point shooter. He's never been necessarily a guy who makes his teammates a whole lot better as far as setting them up. And if you look at the 5 preseason games, he's had 2 assists or fewer in 4 of the 5. So, I mean, he doesn't make, he had one game, the one Sacramento game where they won by the 1 point the other night. He had 4 assists. Other than that, 0, 0, 2, and 0. So that's one area. He's still is much more of a finisher than he is a playmaker for other people. That's one thing. Then you look at the 3-point percentage. 12.5%, 25%. One game against Sacramento hit 67%. One game he hit 50%. And then after that, 28%. And then the field goal percentages, 23, 20, 44, 30, 25. Those are not great. But I would say, finding his shot, we'll see. Maybe he used the preseason to try to hoist as many shots and try to find himself offensively. He'll get into a rhythm, I believe, but I don't think there's any doubt he's lost a step. He doesn't have the same lateral agility that he used to have. He doesn't have the quickness to loose balls. He's not the same kind of an athlete. He used to be able to take on the best, 1 or 2 and take him away. Now he's probably best, defending bigger players.
Yeah,
that he has a quickness advantage against.
Yeah, Shyam here writes in the chat that Klay's always been hot and cold. His defense can't mask his flaws like it used to. I've heard that argument from a lot of people that Klay has always been somewhat streaky. He hasn't always been a consistent player. But the difference between then and more recently, including this preseason, including that disastrous Lakers series, which we can't forget, man. I mean, that just was awful, is that the inconsistent games, the bad games, are genuinely bad. Like his bad games used to be like a 15-point night. Now it's like 3. Now here's one thing I'm seeing, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, Larry, or not. And this is where I think Klay still has value, and where maybe he can turn things around so that I'm not sadly focusing on him so much in a negative manner like this. He's still garnering attention offensively, meaning he still has gravity. Like every one of his shots are contested. And this is why he's forcing so many, is because defenders are still respecting him. Like they're not just saying, go ahead and shoot it. And what I'm saying is maybe Klay should just have, if this is the way defenders are going to play him, have 3 shot attempts for the whole night. If that's what it's got to be. Like, he doesn't have to have 10 to 15 field goal attempts. He could reduce that number if the defenses are still focusing on him the way they are. What do you think about that concept?
Well, I mean, I think we're critiquing him too severely. I do. Okay. I mean, let's look at his career numbers and look at his year last year. Okay, career-wise, he averages 32.9 minutes a game. He played 33 minutes a game last year. Career-wise, he shoots 45.5% from the field. Last year, he shot 43.6. Career-wise, he's a 41.6 three-point shooter. He shot 41.2 last year, right on his career number. Free throw percentage, 85% career. Last year, he was even better, 87.9. Rebounds for his career, 3.5 a game. Last year, 4.1. Assists per game, career, 2.3. Always, never really gets other people involved. Last year, 2.4. So right on the same deal. Mm-hmm. Blocks, same. Steals, the same. He's actually committing fewer fouls. His assist to turnover ratio is pretty much right on his deal. And then you look at his career scoring average is 19.8. Last year it was 21.9. So, the stats show a very similar picture to what we've seen in his career. What those stats don't show are the defensive side of the floor, for the most part. I mean, it shows steals and blocks, but he doesn't have the agility to defend. And then also, you just kind of wonder as he gets older, what kind of wear and tear does he have as far as back-to-backs? Can he play? How much of the schedule can he play? But he played almost 70 games last year out of 82. Yeah. So, I think overall, I expect Klay to be right in line with those numbers once again. I think, I really do. I don't think he's going to drop dramatically. It's a little bit of a different team, and I'd like to see him share the basketball because there's more guys that can do more now. There was times when they had to lean on Steph and Klay for a big percentage of their points. I think now, you've got some other people that you can lean on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that assist total jump significantly this year, and for him to look for his teammates in the half court a little bit more.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll counter with that is the career numbers in the grand scheme of things are totally irrelevant if his game's done, right? I mean, that's all great in the past. What I see with the numbers, last year he had phenomenal numbers, right? He led the NBA in 3-point shooting and 3-pointers made, I'm sorry. He had a career year offensively in February, but the numbers also show it regressed in March. It regressed a lot more in April. His mid-range shooting was not good last year. The vast majority of the shots he does take and that he did take last year were from beyond the 3-point arc. I think like 2/3 of his field goal attempts were 3-point shots. And I don't know. It's all about like, what have you done for me lately when it comes to sports? You know that as well as I do. And regardless of what he did in his career, if that's not happening anymore, I hope you're right, man. I really hope he turns things around. But this is a Warriors team that most people don't take the preseason seriously, but the Warriors did. I mean, Steph was quoted after, I think, the last game talking about how this preseason, the Warriors have been focusing on their identity. Again, that Sacramento Kings game, they took that game seriously. Like, it was a regular season game. The starters were playing all the way till the end. You had a preseason game that went to overtime. And Klay I'm concerned, man. I really hope he turns it around. I hope you're right that the numbers revert. I didn't mind him playing defense against Zach Collins, for example, tonight. I saw him box Collins out for a rebound, and he held his own. He's a strong dude. So, yeah. So let's hope he turns it around. I think that's what
I think it's also he needs to recognize when he has it and when he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And unlike some teams where Klay needs to just keep hoisting, on this team there's great depth here. I mean, there really is.
Yes,
you're starting 5, and then if you just count the guys off the bench, Saric, Kuminga, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Corey Joseph, Gary Payton, Moses Moody, Podziemski, Draymond, Garuba, who I really like. Garuba. So you're talking about 9 guys right there on the bench. That's your whole roster. I mean, there's not a lot of there's not a bunch of nobodies on this team. Last year, opening night, I think they had 5 guys that were 22 or younger, something like that. It was some ridiculous stat like that. Maybe it was more. And just with the two-way players and the youth, Steve just had a limited short bench of guys that he could lean on. This year, I mean, Rudy Gay can help you. Garuba can help you. Podziemski can help you. Moody can help you. Payton can help you. Corey Joseph takes care of the basketball. That was another, I thought, kind of an underrated one in that, the Warriors struggled with turnovers last year, and then they had Chris Paul and Corey Joseph. What can those guys do? Well, their assist-to-turnover ratio is good. Yeah. And Corey Joseph tonight, 5 assists, only 1 turnover. I think the one thing, you take Poole out and you add in Joseph and Paul, you lose some, scoring, but man, you sure add a lot of basketball IQ, and you really are, you got 2 guys who can handle there, who can take care of the basketball, make plays for others, and not turn it over. So I think that changes the dynamic of their whole team just in the point guard switch.
Absolutely. We're going to wrap the show up in just a moment. There are some positives from this game. You mentioned, Larry, the youngsters last year versus the youngsters this year. It's night and day, man. It's like the youngsters last year, with the exception of Kuminga and Moody. I trusted him. Kerr didn't, but it looks like Kerr's trusting those 2 now a little more. I hope what we saw tonight from Moody not playing in the first half was just Kerr experimenting with other new players. I think Moody needs to get those minutes, man. He looks like he belongs. Kuminga, obviously. We're going to talk about those 2 players, Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Man, how the hell did the Warriors get him? I'm blown away. First, though, I got to give some love to our other sponsor for this evening, and that is Jase Medical. The premise for Jase Medical is very simple, folks. You need a medical kit at home. Natural disasters happen. Emergencies happen. You might need Band-Aids. You might need gauze. You might need a disinfectant like Neosporin. What the Jase case gives you that your traditional medical kit that you buy from a grocery store or drugstore won't give you are 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is to fill out a simple online form. In some cases, you might have to jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. That's another perk of getting a Jase case. You can talk to real doctors, get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment-related questions, doctor recommended, doctor created. And right now, if you go to jasemedical.com and enter the code LOCKEDON at checkout, you get a $20 discount, folks, on your order. The promo code again is Locked On, LOCKEDON, at Jase, JASE Medical.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And final segment here. Thank you very much, folks, for joining Locked On Warriors and making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Everydayers Hall of Famer Rick Barry is going to join me on Monday for the final show before the season opener Tuesday, and we'll be here for every post game. In fact, immediately after my show Tuesday night, I'm going to jump on with you, Larry. And again, subscribe to the Krueg Show on YouTube. Just look for the Krueg Show. Follow Larry Krueger on Twitter at SportsLarryK. Larry, there are 4 youngsters on this team, at least 4, that are getting a lot of people excited, myself included. I mentioned them a moment ago. Jonathan Kuminga, real fast, the box score on him. He has had a fantastic preseason, was 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. Again, a lot of people last year up until now criticized him as not being a good shooter. I never understood that. The numbers do not agree with that. So he had 13 points, had 6 great rebounds tonight in 20 minutes of play. Moses Moody, again, for some reason, didn't play in the first half. We saw him play 17 minutes in the second half, 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 6 from beyond the arc. He was really lighting it up there. Also had 8 rebounds. The guy is a long wingspan. Even though he's 6'5", 6'6", his wingspan, I believe, is over 7 feet. He led all scores tonight with 18 points, had 14 in terms of the plus minus. That also led all Warriors players. And then again, Trayce Jackson-Davis and Brandon Podziemski, I can't begin to express how giddy I am over these two. Your thoughts on the 4 youngsters, Larry, that I feel like could take minutes now and help lead the Warriors to success this season. Your thoughts on these young kids?
Well, it's exciting. It is exciting because it's almost like they added 4 lottery picks. Because, Kuminga and Moody were lottery picks, and Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis have played this preseason like they were lottery picks. And so you're talking about a ton of young talent. That's really impressive. I mean, let's start with Kuminga. Kuminga looks bigger.
Real quick, Larry, just real fast. We're about to break some news here in just a minute. I just want to let people know. Continue on, please.
I was just going to say, Kuminga looks bigger. I think there's a chance that Kuminga could be the second best player on the team by the end of the year. Over Wiggins, over Klay, over Draymond. I think Kuminga's got star potential. I've always believed that. I think he's a star in the making. They just need to let him. I mean, and now he's a great kid who knows how to play now. He's figured it out. You can see the game slowed down. He knows how to play off of other players and with other players. He doesn't have to have the ball. He can play off the ball. So he's impressive. Moody, to me, has always known how to play. He's kind of an old soul, but now his athleticism is really noticeable. He's very, very explosive. Podziemski is going to play serious minutes because he can flat out rebound the basketball. He's got a nice little floater game, and he can flat out shoot it, and he makes other people better. In a lot of ways, he reminds me of Dante DiVincenzo. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis. I'm the most excited in some ways about Trayce Jackson-Davis. Played 4 years in the Big Ten. He can score with either hand inside. He can hang out, and on this team, he can hang out on the baseline and just, collect the ball and jam. He's a quick jumper. He's got huge hands. You can run your offense through him. He can set the high pick and roll, dive to the rim. I mean, there's just a lot to like there. He can pass, block shots, score inside. I mean, 3 years from now, when he has a little face-up game to him, he's really going to be deadly. But he can play minutes right away for Steve Kerr. So, and you're talking about 6'10", 6'9", 6'10". It's a big man who knows how to play. I mean, very athletic. A lot of the same traits that Draymond Green has. And he plays poised. You can see the game's not too fast for him. He knows how to play off of others. He was well coached in college. I mean, team defense. He understands team defensive concepts. I love Trayce Jackson-Davis. That was the steal of the draft.
Same. 100% agree with you. And again, Brandon Podziemski, you could say, was the 1B steal. I mean, this kid was also looking incredible. Larry, are you in a rush? Like, can you stick around for like a two-parter and make the second one short?
Sure.